Hello, this is Sabrina Taro at Pure Luna Tarot 808. This is a reading, collective reading for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, and as well as Venus, or especially Venus. You can check your placements on for free on Google. There's several websites that will provide that, so you can check that because most of the time is not only our sun sign, which is reflected on a collective tarot reading, but sun, moon, rising, and especially Venus. This reading is for a special reading for the collective in regards to romantic love, on the lessons that Aquarius, sun, moon, or rising, or Venus had to go through in order to land your soulmate, like your love spiritual lessons before you landed your soulmate. So I'm using today two decks that I feel are very Aquarius and like their energy and their style, which is the Mystic Monday by Grace Duong, and the White Lumen by what's her name? It doesn't say. But both are like special on that energy of Aquarius. So Aquarius, for you, your love reading was harder to see through than the ones I made for Sagittarius and for Virgo. And the reason for that is the following. That's part actually of your love lessons in order to land your soulmate. We start with the energy of the Four of Wands and the Three of Wands in reverse. Now, those two energies are the energies. Four of Wands is an energy of relationships. It's a relationship of a solid celebration, like that of a marriage or a solid like boyfriend girlfriend kind of relationship. And the Three of Wands is an energy of waiting for your ships to come. So it's looking at things from a distance. Now, when we have them in reverse, that means that it's the reverse of the energy. So you would start your energy or your path, your romantic path, and as well because I got dice as well. I'll show them later. But you got the dice. You got 4 and 7 several times. Apart from getting, of course, your planet, which is Uranus, and you also got the sign of Sagittarius, and number 9, which is also related to Sagittarius. So on regards to that energy, and with the other cards that I had from the other deck here, with the Death card and the Two of Cups in reverse, the Two of Cups in reverse and the Death card would be like dissolution of relationships. And starting with those combined with the energy of the Four of Wands and the Three of Wands means that you probably start your life, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus sign. And seven is of Libra, and it's the number of relationships, not like the number on the zodiac sign that has to do with relationship with others. So for me, that feels that you probably would go through several relationships, like strong relationships in your life, where you would where they won't be light relationships. They won't be like unimportant. They will be very transformative in the sense that you got the Death card out of them, which is a card of dissolution. It's a card of the phoenix being burnt to ashes and being rebirthed from those ashes. So you would have several relationships that that would be very transformative. Depends on what age you are. If you're in your 20s, you're just starting that road. In your 30s, you're in the middle of that. In your 40s, you've 40s and 40 more. You've probably seen all those relationships come and go that they were very strong, very passionate because the Death card is very passionate in itself. But once it dissolves, it dissolves. So there would be, as I said, relationships that would be very transformative, where they had like very definite endings, and it was part of a lesson, part of the spiritual lesson that here I have the Seven of Pentacles, which is waiting for your seeds, or where you're deciding if you want to keep planting on something, if you want to keep building on something, if you want to wait for the fruits, like the fruits of what you planted to start sprouting out. And with the Lovers in reverse, this is a pretty cool card for the Lovers. In reverse, it means that those were lessons where you had to learn, although they felt very strong, very intense, like and that each relationship was like part of a different part of, they were each part of a cycle in your life, a part of who you used to be with. Like every time you finish with those relationships, they were so entangled in your life that there was an absolute rebirth of yourself when you finish those relationships, like necessary necessary sorry, I'm still working with the angles with the camera. Necessary endings that dissolved not only the relationship and your hopes about the relationship, but your own view of your own self. So there were lessons for you to understand with the lovers, which is discernment. What in your life was really, like in hindsight, was worth giving it time to grow, what was worth growing and what was not worth growing. And of course the death card has a very interesting energy, because the death card represents things that are supposed to die, things that are not strong enough, or they reach a cycle, and once they reach that cycle of they expire, and there's no turning back from them. So you probably had relationships like that were very transformative and that belong to a different cycle of your life, but that is no longer you, but you had to transform through them. And the spiritual lesson from them here with the Ace of Cups is that what you had to find, and here with the Knight of Swords, even though they were very sharp, or the way they ended could have been like sharp in the words or very quick, like with that death, when they died because there was something, like they crumbled down, and as I said, they reached their expiration time. The lesson with them was that you had to learn to quickly fill your own cup, to find your self-love, especially to find who you are. And I'm strongly feeling like you could have, because that dissolution, that energy of dissolution is so strong in your cards. For me, it feels that probably they didn't work out because you were trying to find yourself through those relationships. Like you were trying to find your essence and who you were through those relationships. But you couldn't do that until you found your own self. You cannot build your soulmate relationship until you went through all those deaths of relationships and those deaths of the person that you used to be with them, with those different cycles in your life. I also feel I had again the 4 Wands as a clarifier for the King of Pentacles, which is a very solid guy. He's like, this is a pretty cool one. Like he's hot and solid. Like he's got his ducks in order, the King of Pentacles, like a business guy. And the Temperance card on reverse. So I feel you might have been hitching your wagon to, because I got the 4 several times as a number, and the 4 is the number of the Emperor, is the number of structure, is the number of things that are solid. So I feel the lesson was that apart from finding your own self-love, before you try to find yourself through others, which is not possible. We cannot find ourselves through others. Some part of ourselves, yes, we can see them reflected in others, and we can, at the end of the relationship, we learn a lot about our own selves. But in general terms, you have to be strong on your self-love and your security. Sorry, before you find yourself. Probably gonna have to cut that part. If I'm being clear, you have to find yourself before you can unite yourself with your soulmate, and that involved finding who you were not with people that were not for you, and that felt that were for you because it was very intense, but just as intense as it was, as intense as it crumbled down, because they were not your people. Because how can you know who's the right person for you before you find yourself? And also, I feel like there was a lot of for Aquarius, you'll have like different exploratory relationships where you see, okay, who am I with this kind of personality, or who am I with this other type of personality. And through that, yes, you did have a process of finding yourself, but the key, of course, as I said, is to fill your own cup before you find your true love, your soulmate. And also that you have a lesson, those people that those relationships, depending on how much aspects you have Aquarius, if you have aspects to other zodiac signs which are more structured, but in general Aquarius is has a lot of dissolution, has a lot of wanting to do things in a very unique way. So you probably had very, like, not strange but unusual partners, and the common denominator between them, apart that they were like all very, I'm not gonna say weird, but kind of like weird. They were like unusual, very Uranian, very unusual. Like, yeah, like geniuses, and they had these sparks of brightness, but none of them had their feet in the ground, probably. So your spiritual lesson is to not to be allergic to a person that embodies that Four of Pentacles energy. No, I mean that Four energy of the Emperor, of a person that is structured, like the King of Pentacles. That maybe in the past, all those different relationships that you had, you chose them because they were very Uranian, very unique, like very. I'm not gonna say artistic is bad, but like out of totally outside of the box, which is a very Aquarian kind of thing. Like, you like them because they were so unusual and because they didn't conform to anything, but at the detriment that you valued them being so weird than them being stable. Like, if being stable would be like a bad thing, like if yeah, like being allergic to that. And your life lesson, your love life lesson is where the tarot cards are pointing to that, is that not to be allergic to the King of Pentacles, to a man or a woman or a relationship that is more structured, that has more traditional things or qualities, or a person that's more traditional, and that 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 balance and that structure of the King of Pentacles is what brings temperance in your life, what brings a balance, what brings an alchemy, that what brings something that is long lasting. Because you, especially you, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, or your Venus, you have this very dissolving energy, like Uranus. Your sign is one that is like even related to aliens, like things that are so not of this earthly plane. So I understand that you would look for a person that would be like something never seen. They have these unusual thoughts about everything, and they're so unusual on regards to their conformity to society and the social norms. But at some point, you were only looking for them because of that, and not that they were compatible, or that they brought security to your life. So, and I'm saying this because I had these other cards as well, the Two of Swords, which is blocking something, and the Ace of Pentacles. Pentacles, again, is something very stable, is something material. So you were blocking anything that looked like a long-term compromise, or that looked like long-term marriage, or like looked anything that you would, like, in the back of your mind, you knew they depend on your past relationships, that they were probably not gonna last. So it's also a way like to protect yourself, and to be in a way kind of like emotionally unavailable. The other cards, let's see, I had, very interesting, I had the Seven of Wands twice from the two decks. I had the Nine of Swords on the upright, and I had the Seven of Wands on the upright. Now, the Nine of Swords is like our fears, like our paranoias, and the Seven of Wands is being in the defensive mode. So there was probably some elements of you liking the intensity of being with a person you could bicker with. Like, you can be like defending your position, because by defending your position in contrast to what the other person is saying, like maybe a tendency to be on to be argumentative, just for the pleasure of being argumentative, because that gives you energy, because that makes you feel like you start understanding yourself by arguing with a person and telling them that your point of view is 100% different than theirs, and that defensiveness is what validated or built was a way of building your personality or understanding who you are. But the cards are pointing out, and here I got them here again with the Mystic Monday. I'm not liking the angle of this. Never mind my camera, just mind the message. Just getting used to showing my mug on the videos. My apologies for that on my free 99 tarot reading. Okay, so back to this 7 of Wands on reverse again, and this is the 10 of Swords, which is like 10 of Swords is this is a girl who's been stabbed with 10 swords on her back, so that's like overkill, obviously. So being in an excessive position or in an excessive energy of always being defensive, of standing your ground in a way that is just like a habit more than with a reason and with a context, is what you were learning from your past relationships. And there was maybe even extremist positions, like you were very willing to be on the extremist side of where your partner was, in order to have like that energy of that bickering, of that argumentative, because Aquarius do like that. They like to have like a strong argument or what, and then have like a very different point of view from whoever is closest to them, especially their partners. In a way, it kind of like gives them energy. It gives them like a sense of control and of power. But the cards are asking you that's what you were learning from those past relationships, to let go of those habits and to understand this process, of course, which is a bit, usually Aquarius is more complex than the rest of the zodiac signs to understand as well, because it is Uranian. It is, they walk to the beat of their own drum more than any of the other signs. And they have a very complex mind. It's very 7 of Wands, like being on the defensive side of wanting to defend an argument and a position very strongly in order to find like that inner power. So what the cards are saying is that in order for you to land your soulmate, the romantic partner, or that you know that you're in the right one, is once you've learned to be in the hangman position, which was in the it was the hangman position upright, which is to learn to see things from a different perspective, which is to learn to see things from the perspective of your partner, and to be able to communicate in a way and have because this is the 8 of Wands, not the traditional. Of course, the traditional doesn't have snakes. It has 8 wands that are being thrown, like the Sagittarius Mercury the Sagittarius Mercury card, actually, of throwing your ideas and communicating your ideas and having like many things to communicate. But what you had to learn was to be able to communicate and to argue without being defensive, and for you to, instead of like vouching that I'm gonna have a very different opinion than yours because that's who I am, and holding tight to that with like closed fist and everything, actually being more in the middle ground, being more willing to negotiate, being more willing to see the position of the other person, being more willing to have that kind of dynamic of conversation where you have more diplomacy, where you are not allergic to being like positioning yourself in the shoes of the other person, or seeing things from a different perspective. And that doesn't mean that your identity is going to fall to pieces by doing that, or that your ideals and your structures and your flag of I'm unique and I'm different is going to be disintegrated. You're still yourself. It doesn't take anything away from you, from merging your ideas with that of other people. And last what I have for you. Last is I had the Lover's card again, which is very nice in this deck with the 2 flamingos, and the 3 of Cups, which is probably the dynamic that is going to work for you more than having to do with the other person, and the other person does have to have like that structure, and you have to allow that space for that structure to come into your life, and you have to open your mind for to be in the fluid dynamic, because I also had the Temperance again, having that fluid dynamic of being more amicable in your arguments and taking them more like in a more harmonious way than for it to be like a battle of defending your turf, like you either believe what I believe or you die, or that's it. Even like which I've seen Aquarius do, like even like an energy of like the argument is done and you go look for that person and tell them you have to believe and agree with what I said. So it's about putting that energy aside and having more of a United Nations kind of a way of arguing with other people, not taking it to heart. Like nothing's gonna happen to you if you start seeing things from a different perspective, or what you thought was the right position, or you open your mind to the possibility that you could be wrong. Oh yes, Aquarius, that can happen. Like, don't take it so seriously. Don't take those arguments so seriously, because that doesn't seem, well, the cards say that's not the way you will find your soulmate, or you find the balance in your soulmate. And to accept a person that is more structured, or that has structure, and that there's nothing wrong with that, and it won't take away from your personality, it won't take away from your freedom. With the 9 of Pentacles, there's also an energy of first finding yourself as an independent person, because it's strange. You have this energy of you want to be very independent on the with like on your position on the arguments you have with your partner, but at the same time you also want to find yourself to the other person before finding yourself as an independent being, before filling your cup by yourself. So on the larger scale, first you need to learn to be independent by yourself, like not to need a partner to feel grounded, or because you're very Uranian, so I would think that you like to have someone that grounds you, but at the same time you feel allergic to the structure of a person that is grounding. Like you like it to a certain point, but not too much. But the cards are telling you here to be more, to merge more with people that are different from you, that see things from a different perspective, and to allow that, and not to be so overreactive or so adamant that the other person has to think the way you think. And things will open up with the star, will start lining up when you find your independence, when you're not thinking about having a relationship, where you're just filling your cup and you're understanding who you are, not in contrast to the other person, not in contrast to your partners, but in contrast to your own self only. And that is when you have chances of having that passionate spark, or igniting that passionate spark with the Princess of Wands, and finding that person that is compatible with you, a King of Wands. Of course, it would be someone that is, because you're Uranian, I mean, you need energy. Like Uranian is what nuclear bombs have. So yeah, you need the passion, you need the fire. You cannot be with someone that's very tepid, but a person that has this energy of fire can also be, of course, a person that is a King of Pentacles, that is structure. I mean, they're not contradictory. You can find that in one same person. And maybe with the Hierophant is about seeing traditions, or seeing things that you thought were like too much in the box with different eyes, and to see the value of that. Like, don't be allergic to traditional things just because. Like, feel them out first. Again, we have the Hangman or the Hangwoman here again, also to see things from a different perspective before you throw them out the window and you say, no, I never believed that in that kind of way, and I'm not going to change my ideas. And in like being more flexible with your mentality, with your positions, with your arguments. That is with the Seven of Swords, where you will find hidden treasures and where you can find yourself as the empress of your life, the empress for your soulmate or the empress for your own self. As I said on the other readings, if you want to check them out, being the empress means that you've mastered all the energies of the other queens. You mastered the energy of the Queen of Cups, which is emotions. You mastered the energy of the Queen of Wands, which is passions. You mastered the energy of the Queen of Swords, which is intelligence, and the Queen of Pentacles, which is abundance and structure and solidity. And she's also the High Priestess, so she's got all this intuition. She's also the Magician. So, and she's very comfortable. Look at her. She's so comfortable, like she's an empress. She doesn't need anybody. So of course, the cards would say that you need to embody that energy where you're, and she also, the empress, she doesn't need to fight her arguments like to death. Like if somebody doesn't believe what she doesn't believe, she's like, look at her. She's like, oh, that's perfectly fine. That's okay. That's okay, because I already know who I am. I'm comfortable with who I am. I have found myself not through others, but through my own alchemical process, through becoming independent, through knowing, discerning when I am picking a person just because I find them very exciting because they're so weird or unusual or, yeah, and exciting and feisty and everything. But she also knows, of course, the companion of the Empress is the Emperor, and he's very structured. I mean, he's the one that gives form to things, to solidifies things. He's the king of the square, but in a good sense, because he's got dominion over his own self, and also he's not triggered if somebody has a different opinion than his, because he's cool with his own self. So that is what I have for you, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising, and Venus sign in Aquarius. And if you like a private reading of your own personal love lessons in order to find your soulmate, being that you're single or that you're currently with someone or you're waiting for the love life, the love of your life, my information is in the description below. And blessings to you, Aquarius.